There are gacha games out there that make you laugh, some that make you rage.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, all gacha games do is make us cry.
And a few others make you goon. But what about a gacha
crazy.
game that scares or creeps you out? My fascination with the last week or so has been this quaint little title just released this month called Wizardry Variants Daphne. After getting tipped off on this, I tried it out and wow, this has got to be one of the most unique and slightly unsettling experiences I've had in a gacha game. Join me in this spooky season as I talk about as close as what a horror gacha game looks like.
This is made by Saiki, I don't know how to pronounce it, Seiki as well. Seems interesting so
My name is Saiki, and let's dive into the abyss. Now, if it's not clear already, this game is only available on phones and only available in portrait mode. There's literally no way to make it.
It's kind of a shame. I kind of wanted to try this out on like mobile maybe. Like, seems like an interesting concept. Like, I don't think there's any games that are like horror related.
Widescreen. But hey, I review mobile games here, so you kinda already signed up for this. And before all the smartasses in the comments say, well, Wizardry is not a horror game, it's a dark fantasy dungeon crawler. Yes, I know. From a conceptual standpoint, the phrase horror gacha game makes sense in a sentence, but realistically, how would that even be done? Something like this is sort of akin to what Yoko Taro refers to.
So it's kind of like a tamer Fear and Hunger.
I mean, on paper, it doesn't sound impossible, but even if you found some way to make a horror gacha game work, would it be any good? What would I even pull for? My sleep paralysis demon? So yes, I know this game obviously isn't a full-on horror gacha game, but it's close to one as I've seen so far. So, what is Wizardry? Well, the franchise started out as a first-person dungeon crawler featuring a 6-character party with turn-based combat. The franchise started all the way back in the 1980s, and while I don't have nearly enough knowledge on retro gaming, I did watch this really cool video detailing its retrospective. The game also features various RPG elements like classes and moral alignments. One major standout, as you might imagine from the games during the arcade era, Wizardry is hard. Like, you had to be really strategic and know the game well to have some degree of success. Despite looking very primordial in its design, its use of stat allocations, class systems, and focus on exploration arguably influenced a lot of the popular gaming titles we know today, such as Shin Megami Tensei and Dark Souls. But we're not here to talk about ancient times. It's time to talk about the wizardry that runs on our phones. So what is Variants Daphne about? Well, you play as an unknown, presumably male, adventurer, delving in a dark dungeon. You're chased by a mysterious ghost and unfortunately perish after being all the way since you now look like a ghoul. Having no recollection
ghoul gameplay, that's not too bad.
Who you were, you wander around the dark.
It's literally Dark Souls. Like, you become, was it Hollow? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's literally Dark Souls.
Dungeons and encounter a mysterious figure. The figure turns out to be an ethereal young lady called Lulu Narde. Interesting name. She explains that you're trapped in the Abyss, a massive dungeon that surfaces in the living realm every 100 or so years. After wandering around some more, you encounter a broken guardian statue. Placing your hand on
she just like front flips.
it, you realize that you have the ability to restore a broken item back to its original state. There's a minigame for this where you simply just have to tap the screen when the shrinking ring is inside the circle. Worth noting that if you miss the timing, you actually take damage, and it is possible to die from this. After discovering a pile of broken armor, using your trusty right hand of reversal, the pile of junk restores to a set of gear, and you're able to equip it. There's a short combat tutorial, but at last you find the exit to go outside. Lulu Narde, being in ethereal form, explains that she normally couldn't leave the parameters of the Abyss. But after staying in close proximity to you, she realizes that she's able to explore the
Is this when Lulu Narde like is actually a demon and tries to possess us?
Outside world after all. After defeating some bandits to don their masks so no one in town sees your hideous ghoulish face, you head to civilization. It's there that you learn that the Abyss was really caused by a powerful
I'm imagining he is not like wearing bandages or something?
warlock that was banished to the deepest part of said Abyss. The dungeon would resurface every 100 years, unleashing the monsters that dwell within to the outside world. It is said that only the king has the power to seal it again, but he seems to have been lost in the Abyss. and the princess is hiring adventurers to rescue him. You speak with Knight Dylanhart. After learning that you came from the Abyss yourself, he believes that you will be a great asset to the rescue attempt. The truth is, the king was actually kidnapped by a beast inside the dungeon. And now, after a failed first expedition and exhausted of resources, the kingdom is calling worthy adventurers to assist. He gives you a coin pouch and advises you to prepare yourself to meet his team for a second expedition. This is where the shackles come off, and you're free to do whatever you want. Being that Wizardry has always had the 6-character party, how do we get more allies to join us? This is where the gacha system comes in. Anyways,
like basically classic gacha game stuff.
Adventure rarity is split into Anonymous, General, or Legendary tier. I'll just refer to them as R, SR, and SSR. The drop rates are 50, 45, and 5% respectively. This is a pretty high rate for an SSR, though for any rate-up banners, the rate-up is 2%, so it's a little bit short of a coin flip. You get an exchange token per pull, and you can spark a pity.
Yeah, this is an insane way to gacha though. Like, you're basically... Actually, that's kind of smart. That's a smart way to do it. You're basically reviving, like, undead to, like, fight for you.
At 100 pulls. But given the 11 bones bundle, it's realistically just for the price of 90 pulls. The exchange tokens do not carry over to other banners, though this game does not appear to have limited characters. According to the in-game info here, any rate-up character will be added to the general pool. It's quite clear that the lower rarities have less effort put into them, as the Rs have generic names, are not voiced. I was able to get a few legendary adventures, but honestly they don't feel that much different from the rest. I quite like the idea of how the gacha system is built into the lore, as you're essentially bringing back bones from the Abyss to see who you resurrect.
It's really cool.
Once you have enough people...
Like, most gacha games, like, let's be honest, they're kind of all the same with the pulls. It's like... It's always, like, some sort of train that, like, passes by when you're swiping.
You have to register them into the Adventurers Guild, in which you can name them and allocate some stat. I have seen some people say their character build got bricked because they spec their stats incorrectly. I guess that's one of the drawbacks of them.
That undead cat dude looked pretty cool with the hood though.
Making the old school style wizardry. Only problem here, you can't just reload a previous save. You can put them into any spot in your party, and something I found is that certain skills will only work when they're placed into a specific spot. I just ran with a balanced team with all the classes and equipped them with whatever beginner gear I got. After I went back and met up with Dylanhart again and trekked back into the Abyss, I knew that this game was in a league of its own. Usually with gacha games, there's typically a honeymoon phase where the game showers you with free stuff. May it be for upgrades, gear enhancements, or love.
Is this game, like, not do that? Like, is this game not even that kind or generous? You just go in, you don't even get anything free. He's like, nah, bro, you're on your own. We're not giving handouts here. That's kind of based, I'm not gonna lie.
Leveling. This game has no such honeymoon phase. It will not hold your hand. Even at level 1, the first floor of the Abyss, all the enemy encounters will already start to challenge you. If you didn't bring a priest that can heal or some potions, there's no way to heal your health, stamina, or magic. The only way to replenish it at this time is to leave the Abyss, go back to town, and sleep at the inn. Being a dungeon crawler, you are not expected to breeze through everything. You kinda just have to figure everything out yourself and adapt to set expectations of what you can achieve in a single dungeon run. Your knights can defend on the front row, your thieves can warn you of any traps, and their high disarm stat makes it easier to open trapped chests without taking damage. Defeating enemies do grant XP, but neither you or your party will level up while inside the dungeon. You again have to go back to town and sleep at the inn to do that. At times, your party will call in a meeting to raise a toast, but also discuss how the last run went. Going into the inn, you can pick to stay a night at either the stable, which is free, or the rooms that cost more the more luxurious it is. I kind of felt bad letting my squad sleep in the stables, but this will allow everyone to recover their stats.
Fuck 'em. Let them sleep in there. Nah, you deserve that royalty, bro.
And level up. New skills are learned and the overall stats are increased. It wasn't until the second night in the stables that I found that it's possible for some of your gold to be stolen overnight. So after that, I started to stay in the economy room. Gameplay-wise, you don't get any bonuses for this, but it just feels right. I even tried staying in the room one tier above that, and nothing changes except for an attendant giving you some health potions. So I guess that's cool? Okay, so the Abyss
Yeah,
is
it
pretty
sounds nice.
unforgiving. How do I prepare better? Well, that's where the dailies and the gearing comes in. Directly from the Adventurers Guild, you can take on contracts that either require you to do something while inside the dungeon, or just clear out mobs nearby. Dailies can be completed pretty quickly, and actually provides a lot of items to help you out. You can feed these XP tomes to your allies, but even if they do level up, you still have to sleep at the inn again for it to take effect. You can either sell
makes
the
sense.
equipment you salvage for gold or enhance them. I never really got a good look on how to maximize the damage for each class, but there will definitely be some things that you can optimize. If you head into the training room, something else you can do is inherit the skills from other adventurers you pulled, like a passive stat boost or something similar. This is essentially the game's limit break system. The lower rarities do have their uses here, so at least the fodder is more useful than some other games. Now, I want to talk about one of Wizardry variant Daphne's most infamous features, to the point of even stirring some controversy. And that feature
What's
being
this?
permadeath. It's
Nah, oh nah. That's crazy. What? So you do all of that, you pay money, you basically like get roles and like try to like like oh god, that's crazy. Hell no. I mean, it's interesting concept, but permadeath is a bit too much. Like you're basically scamming yourself if you die. What? Like hell no. I'd still play this though, try it out.
possible, and more so whenever they trigger a trap or die in combat. It is possible to resurrect them in battle, but messing up the revival minigame will damage you and cause you to be paralyzed for a bit. Fortitude will go back up as time elapses in real time, so it sort of functions as a soft stamina system. Permadeath in general just isn't used often in gaming as a whole these days. We have so many options
sense.
that, unless you're specifically looking for a hardcore experience, losing your entire progress like this is really just gonna turn.
Yeah, that's awful. That's gonna turn you off from this game. Like, you paid money for that character and you lose them like that? Like, what? Like imagine pulling for, say, Zhong Li or Gan Yu and you just lose them, like, in battle. Oh shit, dude, that sucks. I hope your internet feels better, man.
Turn some people away. If you couldn't resurrect an ally in the dungeon, you can go to the temple and do it there. However, the chance for a successful resurrection
What's the
decreases
chops
as
in
the character's fortitude drains. If it's fully depleted and the attempt fails, their remains will be reduced to ashes. If it fails again, then they are gone for good.
Ooh.
Luckily,
Wait,
there
wait. Revives can fail? That's so fucked up.
are many safeguards in place so that this will very likely never happen to you. Even if one's fortitude is really low, you can just spend some gems for a guaranteed resurrection. You would literally have to go out of your way to let your adventurer die over and over again to get their fortitude low enough, so this system is very likely not ever going to affect you. That being said, having this mechanic in a gacha game at all is, well, bound to raise some concerns.
Yeah.
I imagine that many gacha players, including myself, won't be too pleased to find that my hard-earned gacha waifu that I sunk time and money into just gets Thanos snapped out of existence. I'm fairly certain that a similar mechanic existed in the original Wizardry games, except when real money and microtransactions are involved, that's a little bit questionable.
Yeah, that's a huge. It's not good.
I myself believe that gacha games should not be aimed towards a hardcore audience.
I agree.
Other than optional challenge modes, the game should not have major difficulty barriers where players can get stuck for an extended amount of time. Usually when I say this, you're gonna get some comments saying how, oh Psyche, you're too soft. You just want everything to be in baby mode. Now look, for my first 3 years on YouTube,
Well, it's
I made
fine
content.
to have like harder difficulties. It's just like it shouldn't just be set in hardcore. Like your character dies and you like lose all of that. Like not only your money and that character you spent for.
On a roguelike game known for its difficulty. I enjoy playing difficult games. The major distinction is that they are
like,
not
one of my favorite games is like Fear and Hunger. Like that's pretty difficult.
gachas. You have to understand that mobile games are casual in nature, so designing a game for a hardcore fanbase will attract a small and dedicated audience, but it's uncertain if that audience is enough to sustain the development of said game. Wizardry Variants Daphne is very unforgiving in its mechanics. It's as close to a hardcore gacha game as I've seen so far. Now, the marketing of the game being hardcore will get a bit thrown out the window if you can just pay microtransactions for boosts in progression. So, let's talk about this really quickly. There are two.
So pay to win? Yeah, I figured it was gonna go this route.
Two battle passes, the normal mission pass and the Savior the Risk pass. There are two different Explorers passes that give an additional dispatch slot, accelerated XP gain, better shop deals, guaranteed resurrection attempts, and more inventory. On feature banners, you can also pull using a different bones currency that's glowing purple. Pulling with these gives you the chance to also get the Raid Up Adventure's weapon when you get them, whereas the free-to-play bones don't. This purple bone must be bought with purple gems, which must be bought with real money. I should mention that during the week that I played, the free-to-play income for gems isn't the most generous. I'm sure someone can make a decent argument that
they give you like pennies.
These purchases are completely optional, but I mean, locking quality of life behind paywalls, microtransactions where you can literally buy good armor and gear, low free-to-play income. The premise of the game is cool. It was on such a good hot streak. I just feel like this game could have been more. Like, all these things didn't have to be here. Difficulty is one thing, but how does this game feel to play? What about its mood or atmosphere? And how does this compare to an actual horror experience? Well, one thing you might have noticed is the 3D models for the NPCs. It's hard to wrap your head around this, since recently huge titles have really warped our perception of what is considered good mobile game graphics, but this is what one is supposed to look like. Even though the models don't look that impressive, where they really sunk their budget into is in the monster designs. You can't exactly see what's there when you explore, only a shadowy figure. They roam around the map and can detect and approach you. If they sneak up on you, then they get the first hit. I've only explored the first 3 floors or so, and while there were some goblins and worms, it wasn't until a little bit further that I saw some pretty abhorrent looking monsters. Oh, but wait until you see the boss for that floor.
The boss? Oh my goodness! Oh, damn, that looks horrifying.
I mean, clearly someone at the development team has been playing.
Oh my god, that's nightmare fuel, like right there.
Some Dark Souls. Aside from looking genuinely creepy to look at, these encounters are no joke. The tougher enemies can 100 to 0 you in like 1 to 2 hits if you're not prepared. Only by finding these teleport points can you travel to and from town. If you're still a couple ways away from one, then you have to manually travel back while avoiding monsters. No fast traveling wherever you want. You unlock some skills later to make traversal easier, but in this game, there's no farming stage, there's no replenishable stamina currency. Just dailies and your party to explore the decrepit abyss to uncover its secrets. It's incredibly atmospheric and at times feels like you're fighting for your life. However, the launch of Wizardry Variants Daphne wasn't without flaws. Some players reported issues launching the game, movement glitches, server-lag, and a few others. I didn't have any problems myself, but I played a couple days after the release date when a day 1 patch was completed. I did notice some animation glitches and untranslated text, but other than that, I didn't encounter any issues. From all the gachas released this year, Wizardry Variants Daphne's creepy and atmospheric environment caught my eye as one of the major standouts. Its old-school approach to its design distinguishes itself from pretty much any other gacha game I've reviewed so far. You will be tested to your limits in the abyss. This is an experience that the hardcore audience will greatly appreciate, and I have to give some praise to Studio 2 Pro, the devs behind.
Honestly, that's really cool that they decided to just go that route, even if it's pretty. Yeah, not a lot of people are gonna like it like that, but hey, they wanted to make a hardcore RPG and they did it. Honestly, props to them.
Behind it for filling this niche in mobile gaming. WVD gets my completely arbitrary first impressions rating of try it, though I highly hesitantly give that score. It's as close to a horror gacha game as I've seen, it's just I'm really not too sure about the monetization. If you're gonna tailor to the hardcore audience, then why give so many ways to buy shortcuts and power?
True.
Anyways, let me know how you made out with the game, or if you'll be trying it out at all. If you want to tune in for more gacha related content just like this, you know what to do.
Yeah, this is a good video. I'll subscribe. I'll subscribe. Yeah, go check them out. That was a good video.